So here, if you can see, the value has been removed and it's just only printing the session ID because the value is removed now. So this same way, you can actually effectively use this one. So if you want to remove a particular variable, if you want to remove a particular value in it, so you can actually use remove, and that will completely remove the value and it will print only the variable, the placeholder of it. And then we do have other items as well. Let me just quickly go through it. So this is, sorry, to remove a variable from the context. So for that, we are going to use vars.remove. And the next thing is we're going to use vars.get object and vars.put object. And this is used to store and retrieve Java objects. It's not just strings, but Java objects. So for that, we're going to use the vars.get object and vars.put object. For example, okay, let me just go through an example. Def my map equals name distributor type. It's going to be cool. And I'm going to put. So put is something like you're going to store and you're going to update the variable, right? So I'm going to do it in the object. So vars.put object, and I'm going to put it in, or I'm going to assign this. That's it. So my map variable, and it's going to be defined in this value, which is in the, so whatever values I've got, it's going to be assigned it here. So I've assigned all these values in my map, and then I'm going to put all these in the my map variable. My map. That's it. So I've assigned all these. I've just stored all these values, and now I'm going to retrieve all these values or retrieve all these objects using the uh, get object. So for that, I'm going to use same way. So I'm going to create another. I'm going to assign another variable for this. Vars.get object getting this value. So my map variable, I'm going to get that value. And let me run this one. I'm going to return this value, just that. Name. Yep, it should work. Do we have anything else here? Nothing. Okay, let's print it and see how does it work. So what I do is it's not just only with variables. We can also use this to store and retrieve Java objects, not just strings, for just objects as well. Save, run. Okay, why is it like that? Give it a tool. Okay, let me quickly do this one. Session ID is removed, that's fine. String user ID is good. Okay, so this works fine. So it comes with only this issue here. And let me get this alone. Okay. So colon, tag colon, object, it should work. Come on, my map, that's right. Okay, so check this out. Okay. Okay, I think I should get some variable for this. Okay, so it tells that Groovy lang miss property exception. Let's see what happens with this one. Um, my map name is Jmeter, type is role, put object. Yep, I've given it properly, but for some reason it's failing. Custom put object, my map. Fine. Okay, okay. My map. Yeah. Let's check now. Yep, yep. It's just the M. Yeah. Fine. Let's now read the value for now. So what I'll do is we'll try that value, and let me go back to the JS sampler. So it's just a minor, very small case sensitive issue. And yeah, drive map get object, get object, and my map where. Yep, I think it should work now. Let me save this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to retrieve the name, which is I need to get the value called jmeter. Let's see how does it work. Yep, I think it should work. Yep. So we got the jmeter. So that's how. So when I say the object, so you can actually, so when you're using the key value pairs, so in those scenarios, actually you can use this very well. When I say key value pairs, you can, for when you're testing like Kafka, when you're testing MQ. So in those cases, this will definitely help you. If I want to return the type, I can return the type as well. So if in case if you need, I'll just share this in my GitHub repo, and then you can take it from there for examples. Let me just quickly run this, and we should see the tool. Yep, so it works. So the small mistake which I did is the caps. So instead of keeping it as like small m, I have lowercase. I have kept as uppercase. So that's the issue. But again, it'll throw you a lot of errors. So we have to like slowly debug line by line, and that will definitely help you to fix the issues. So far we saw about var.get, var.put, and then var.remove, where you can remove the variable from the context. And then we saw about the objects with the job, the storing of storing and retrieving the objects. And yeah, so these are the effective ways where you can use vars. So these are the examples where we can use vars. Any other doubts in terms of vars or in terms of using this one? Or shall we move to the next slide?
I wasn't.
Hi.
Yeah, where I get a last interview, I get a question from the Groovy scripting.
Mm-hmm.
The question is like I'm logging to e-commerce website and I'm searching a product.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I got a 10 products I'm searching.
Okay.
So where I want to pick up the least value of the price,
Mm-hmm.
lowest
Okay.
value of
Okay.
the price
Okay.
with Groovy or Beanshell, any kind of
Mm-hmm.
scripting.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
This is the question.
So what was the logic? So did they ask the logic, or did they ask the code?
Uh, they ask the code.
Okay. Okay. See, that's what the problem is. So what happens is with the having like generative AI tools, what happens is like we give
With
the
the
logic,
logic,
and yeah.
the logic I explained that
Uh,
correlate the value and store it in array
mm,
and like min value, like select the min value, like I randomly explain like this,
mm, mm, mm.
but they didn't satisfy.
Okay, okay. So the point is, I would say this is some trick which I'm telling you. So when you're explaining these values, right, ask them for a paper pen and use some code, because they're not anyways going to compile it. But you can use these items in there. Like for example, you can write vars.put or vars.get where. So first thing is you're going to extract the value. You're going to correlate the value. So you have to write the algorithm. You have to write a kind of a you must have seen the map things, right? For example, uh, let me quickly show you this one. So this will definitely help you in your next interview. So just try to do this. Get this one. So just imagine this is your paper, okay? And try to at least make this up. So this will definitely give you a better impression with the interview. So just tell them that you're having your HTTP sampler, right? Under the sampler, you're going to add your, what is that? For extraction, what will it use for correlation?
Regular expression extract.
Exactly. Yeah, you're going to use your regular expression extractor. Just give this, give these items, because this will actually give you. You are not going to write your entire code, and they're not going to expect it. All they want is they want to understand whether we have that understanding. So you're going to have your regular expression extractor under this. So now you are extracting the value, right? And before
Yeah.
you move on to your next, what to say, your next step, you have to use your JMeter post processor, right? So after you
Yes.
get your values, you're going to post process it, or you're going to use your preprocessor. So preprocessor is where we are going to manage your data, right? So you have to use your JSR 223 preprocessor. And in here, you're going to write your logic. So when I say logic, you're going to like the same way I will explain you like what you did. You're going to extract all these values, and you're going to add this in the vas.put, right? And before you put it, what you do is, so you're going to extract the values and you're going to store it in an array. So first thing is you're going to store it in an array. So now you know what are the values in there, and then you're going to do a sorting. So when you're going to
Yeah.
do a sorting, what you do is we get the minimum value when you're going to sort it in the ascending values. So you're going to sort it, and you can tell them that, see, even the managers might not know what is happening, so they don't know what code we have. So you can do it
Yes.
like, you can tell them that vas.put, and you're going to tell them that I'm going to store it in an array, and I'm going to sort it. So when I say sort, you can use any sort of logics. You can use bubble sort or uh, any simple sorting, and then you can tell them that the next step is, once I sort it, I'm going to get the minimum value, and I'm going to put it in. So okay, I'm going to, yeah, vas.get to get the values,
Yeah.
and then you're going to put the value.
Store it in some variable and put it.
Exactly. Yeah, you're going to store it in a value called minimum value,
Yeah.
minimum.
We call those variables in wherever we need to.
Exactly. And once you assign that, so once you assign that, you're going to use that value. Just that. So vas.get, which you're going to
Just
assign it
that
in the
put.
minimum. Yeah, that's it. Vas.get, and then yeah, here you're going to put it in a variable, right? And then you're going to try that, and you're going to save it. So just try to do this level. This is more than enough, because they'll understand. Okay, so you're going to extract it. You're going to just explain them. Why I'm using a JSON or post preprocessor is, it's not just any other thing. I'm just going to use a preprocessor to manage my data, or to manage the to store or try the data, right? So this will actually, this is the way you explained, or how did you explain it? Did you
Okay.
bring down the skeleton of it?
Okay.
So this way you can actually use it, right? This is very easy to explain. Just try to throw some keywords. See, that's a thing. If I'm an interviewer, if someone tells like vas.get, vas.put, or vas.definition, vas.object, I will be impressed. So that's the same thing with everyone, right? So it's just to understand, make them understand, like, because they know after we join the organization, we're going to anyways use any generative AI tool to get the code. But before to even enter that job, to land in the job, we must have to do
Yeah.
this gimmicks work. So, yeah.
Just shown some knowledge on what we have
Exactly.
this.
Yeah. Tell them
Yeah.
that you know these functions, you know these objects, you know these items in that. Yeah. Just that.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Any other questions before we move to the next slide? Okay. Thank you. And let's move to the next one. Yeah. So this one here. Why we prefer Groovy compared to other tools? Because the one thing is, we do have a Groovy, Beanshell, and JavaScript. So when it comes to the speed, I can very well see it's Groovy is very quicker, Beanshell is slower. So when I say it's slower, the first and the biggest reason we use Groovy is the performance, because Groovy scripts are compiled and cached. So we all know how cache will help us to save time, right? So when I say caching, so these Groovy scripts, they get compiled once and then they get cached. So which means Demeter compiles our Groovy code once, just once. It's something like a stored procedure which you use in databases. So they get compiled once and they don't run it every time. So the same thing, the same idea, the same logic behind using Groovy as well. They get compiled, the code gets compiled once, and they gets reused every time. They get reused in all the threads and loops. Same logic as the store procedure. So you're just going to compile everything, and then you're going to use your query to get that value. So comparing with Beanshell creates a new interpreter per thread. So same thing with queries. So when you're running a queries in your databases, so people might ask you like, how it's an additional one. Let me tell you. So people ask you like, if you want to improve the performance of an application in terms of databases, instead of doing it through query, you can migrate it to store procedure, so they get compiled at once and then they get cached, so you don't need to do the compilation every time. But in this case, the same. So Beanshell, they creates a new interpreter every time, every thread, and that interpreter which I said, which is getting created, so they stays in the memory and it's getting loaded over and over again. So in an ideal example, you will definitely understand that if you're using a Beanshell has some customizations, but again, it has its own drawback, which is it needs to be interpreted every time. When I say interpreted, it needs to be understood every time. It has to go through the code every time, and then it will again stay in the memory. It actually creates an object, so it gets straight in the memory and gets loaded over and over again. So if you're running 100 users with 10 loops, which is like 1,000 interpreter instances, just imagine how much memory it will be loading. Okay, let's say you have a very simple script. So for example, okay, let me just quickly show this. Let me check whether I can do it now. Okay, let me just copy this code for I in one 1,000, and I'm defining a value for it. X I one, sorry, I multiplied by 2, and I'm returning the value. So in several scenarios we can use this, right? And this one we all know it's a for loop, so it's going to run every single time in the logic. So what happens here is, when you're running it through Groovy, this execute only once, it gets compiled once, and then it runs very quickly. But if we're using the same thing through Beanshell, what happens is every iteration spins up a new interpreter, which means it eats up your CPU, your host CPU, which is where you're running your machine, where you're running your JMeter. It eats the CPU, it eats the memory, and then the time as well. When I say the time, the response time, yes. So if I want to run it several times, let me go back here, make it 4. And when I run this one, so here you can see the value. Okay, for some reason I don't think it's getting iterated properly. For I in one. Okay, but the pointer is this. So when you're uh, running your code, when you're doing any code using Beanshell, it gets compiled. So you might tell the interviewer. So this is something which you can tell them, that I have uh, uh, converted several Beanshell scripts to Groovy, and this could be the reason. Because see, these are some of the pointers which you can add, where you can highlight your potential in terms of how much you have understood JMeter. So people may not definitely ask this, but you can actually bring this to the interview. You can tell them that, see, I have did all these, and the reason behind is, you can tell all these points, that the Beanshell does this interpreter every time, and that actually takes a lot of CPU and memory. So I myself has did this proactive way to convert all those Beanshell which has been a legacy code to Groovy, right? So that's how we can make some cheat codes to get past in the interviews. And then, yeah, so when it comes to the real world benchmark, so how does it work? So let me go to the presentation here. So what happens is, when you're doing a test, comparing all the 3 languages, do I have it? Yeah. For example, if a bean shell takes 600 milliseconds for a particular action, and JavaScript takes 250 milliseconds, the same thing is being done by Groovy in less than 50 milliseconds, which is like it's 12 times faster when compared to bean shell. And then when it comes to ease of use, we all know, we're all seeing that, for making everything simpler, so we are using the JSON load. So we're going to okay, let me just quickly show this example to you as well, other than explaining. Yeah, For loop, no. Yeah, JSON payload. So to do a JSON payload, what did I do here is, so if I'm using the same thing, using Beanshell, I have to use a string payload. The same thing here. If I want to use this using a bean shell code to define the same items. Here I have, I'm building it in Groovy, right? So I don't want, I want to manage the strings. I want to manage the escape characters, but the same thing. So for example, if I'm, we all know about the JSON code, right? It has the values in it. So for example, if um, just for example, like if I'm having a value called string payload, the same thing which I'm giving here, but I'm giving it how we do it in the bean shell equals, and I have to escape the double quotes using a forward slash ID and then another forward slash and then another forward slash, sorry, and 1 2 3 forward slashes, and then yeah, backslash